My name's Dylan, and I've been a freelancer for about 2 years now. In this time period, I went from knowing nothing about web design or sales to being able to sell multiple websites, with my largest website being worth just over $15,000. So in this video, I want to share my best piece of advice, and I'm going to be sharing my personal experiences and journey along the way. I'm not trying to make this video to brag, and I'm not claiming to be the greatest salesperson on earth, because I have a lot to learn, although I am going to share my personal experiences and advice. So step number 1 for landing large web design projects is understanding the value of your services. When I was getting started, I really wanted to sell the design and technicalities of websites and SEO. And this is going to be your initial thought, is that you should be selling a gorgeous looking website. It's going to look amazing. It's going to really meet your brand's guidelines. But at the end of the day, this is not really what a company values. They don't necessarily look at the design the same way you do. Even though you're a website designer and you understand the value of design, the client doesn't necessarily agree or understand. When you're trying to sell a large website, you need to take the approach of selling the value of your services and the results that come from building a new website. You shouldn't be talking about the design, you shouldn't be talking about the technicalities, because this is not the language of a business owner. Business owners speak in the language of dollars and investment and ROI. So what this means is you should be selling the value of your services. You should be selling increased traffic, increased lead generation, and overall more sales and more money coming from this investment. So instead of preaching for a great design, focus on the traffic and sales that the website will generate as a result. Now, a big part of this is also confidence, because if you walk into a client's company and you aren't confident in what you're selling, then they're not going to be confident in you either. So it helps to have a proven track record and to come in with a lot of research to back your claims. When I went in to sell a $15,000 website, I came in with detailed SEO reports of their current website, showing them all of the keywords that they were ranking for, the amount of organic traffic that they had, and notes on how they could optimize the website in order to generate more sales and ultimately boost their revenue. It needs to make sense in the mind of a business owner to spend $15,000 on something, and they're not going to spend it just to have a gorgeous looking website. They'd rather spend it on something that they know will increase the amount of revenue coming in. Step number 2 is being able to identify your target audience. Needless to say, not every company can spend $15,000 on a website. And without a doubt, some companies will not benefit from spending this much on a site because the money just isn't there and the returns are not there. So ask yourself the question, what type of company can spend $15,000 on a website and will get a positive return? So a few factors to consider are the amount of revenue the company is bringing in, which should be at least $20,000 a month if they're going to be spending this type of money on a website. You also have to consider their marketing budget. So does the company have high profit margins, and out of that $20,000 a month revenue, how much of that are they actually able to keep, and how much of that do they put back into marketing and boosting their online presence? Now I'm going to talk about 2 different types of niches and talk about why potentially some websites are worth a lot more than others. So if you have a ma and pa country store, they probably can't spend that $15,000 on a website, and obviously it would not justify that amount of money in the first place. But take a company like an e-commerce website that's doing $20,000 a month through their website. Obviously it would be much more justified to spend this type of money in hopes that you'd be able to boost the amount of traffic and revenue that the company is receiving. So figure out what your niche is, figure out who is the right target audience, and then actually customize your approach to outreach to those specific types of clients. And then another type of niche is the platform that you're using. So if you're trying to sell a $15,000 Squarespace website, you're going to have a much tougher time than if you're trying to sell a Shopify or Webflow website, because just the platform is much more complex. It has a lot more room for growth and opportunity, whereas Squarespace is much more simple to use, drag and drop. Your nephew could build a Squarespace website and you're not going to have the same value as if you were providing something with Webflow or Shopify. So those are a few factors to consider when you're trying to find the perfect target audience that will spend a lot of money on a new website. Okay, step number 3 is preparing for the sale. So a few strategies when it comes to sales is, firstly, the person is buying you before they buy your product. So what I mean by that is they are buying from a person that they trust and a person that they like before they're actually thinking about the technicalities and the results. So it helps to really establish rapport and trust with the person, and to be able to like the person, and hopefully they like you back before you go ahead with all of the technicalities and proving the results of your services. So on the first call, obviously you want to have checked out their website, and you want to know everything about their business, their story, the products that they're selling, and the niche that they're in, so that you can better understand their problems and how you could solve them. During the first and second sales call, definitely have prepared a notes sheet with all the things that they could do to optimize the site, as well as an SEO report of certain things that they might be lacking in, or just generally all the numbers that come with their website. And another sales tip to talk about is asking open-ended questions. So if you were just talking for 60 minutes straight about the value of your services and all the work that you've done in the past and the results that you're going to provide, the client's going to get bored, they're going to zone out a little bit, and it's totally different than asking open-ended questions. Open-ended questions help you come to the determination of what is the client's actual pain points, and it helps you to understand better from their perspective what they're really looking for. Questions also help keep the client engaged, and they help you get an accurate understanding of where they're coming from. So when it comes to asking open-ended questions, here are some examples of questions to ask. What led you to seek out our product or service? Can you tell me a little bit more about your current process for X? What are the biggest challenges you're currently facing in your business? How would you define success for your business? Can you tell me more about your target audience or your ideal customers? So these are going to be some great questions to ask to really get a better understanding of where the client's coming from and who their target audience is. Okay, step number 4 is closing the sale. So by the point that you've already talked about all of the value of your services and everything I've talked about previously, you get to the point where you're going to talk about prices, and you're going to ultimately ask the question, so how does this sound? Are you ready to move forward? Now you're either going to get a yes, I'm ready to move forward, which is great, go ahead and send them the proposal and the invoice, or you're going to hear rebuttals and objections. So if they give you any objections, here's some examples. I'm not interested right now. I don't think I can afford your services. I don't think we need a website right now. I need to think about it. Or I'm not the decision maker. I need to consult with some other people first. These are some common things you're going to hear if they just aren't sold by the end of the sales call. So you need to have rebuttals to all of these objections. So if they come at you with an objection like, I need to think about it, you need to have a rebuttal prepared to come back at them with. And one example could be, absolutely, I understand that a website is a large investment and you want to take your time to consider if this is the right purchase for you. Can I ask, are there any specific questions or concerns you have that are holding you back from moving forward on this project? So ultimately, you always want to have a rebuttal to their objections, and you're probably going to have to go through a few objections before really sealing the deal. Now, once you send over the proposal, a few things could happen as well. They could just ghost you, and it is unfortunate when that happens. You definitely want to follow up with them 1 to 2 weeks after you send a proposal if you don't hear anything, because chances are if you don't follow up, you're just never going to hear from them again. So the follow-up is your kind of final attempt to see if you can make it go forward. You could send them a follow-up like, hey, I know we spoke last week and I sent you the proposal. Do you have any questions or concerns? I'd be happy to have another chat about this. So after you've answered all of the objections of the client, you're going to get to the point where you end up sending your proposal and you need to wait 1 or 2 weeks to hear back from them. And if you get the yes, congratulations. If you get the no, you definitely want to send some sort of follow-up like, hey, I know we spoke last week. Do you have any questions or concerns about the proposal? And that way you could figure out if they are really interested or if it's just not the right investment for them at this time. Alright, so just to summarize the video, identify your website's value, identify your niche target audience, and then you have to prepare for the sale and ultimately close the deal. And once you've done all of these, you've successfully made it through step 1 to step 4 of landing large web design projects. Alright, if you found any value in the video, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more web design content, and I'll keep you updated.